Hey everyone, how are you? It's Dr. Daniel Davidson, physical therapist from the Traveling Physical Therapist. As always, I'm here supporting the 400 Fewer Falls initiative, where we're trying to reduce the fall risk of 400 Long Island seniors in the next 12 months by providing free in-home balance and fall risk analysis. I'll never get that pluralization right. Today I have a very special guest, Miss Angela Desposito. Angela's from Alvita Home Care, and she has a very different take on home care, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Angela, how you doing today?
Hi, good. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
It's my pleasure. It really is. You and I, when we get together, I think you and I do a lot of talking.
We do.
I think we riff off each other quite a bit.
We do.
We have a good time. So if this goes a little in a different direction,
yeah.
I'll apologize.
Yeah. For now, I'll apologize.
So why don't you tell me something now? We're talking on Monday. Why don't you tell me something weekend, something amazing that happened to you?
Okay. So my daughter just celebrated her 8th birthday. So that was pretty amazing. And if many of you have children that are as young as my little one who just turned 8, you'll know that LOL is still a big thing with a young girl. So it was an LOL themed bowling party. So we had about 12 kids from her elementary school just bowling and running around high on sugar like crazy. But it was a great time to celebrate. She had a great time. I use 2 ladies that do an amazing job with both custom made cookies and cakes, and I always use them every year just to support their business. Really big on local businesses and people just trying to get out there. So they did an amazing job as always. So it was a really, really fun time.
Angela, you gotta give him a plug now. You can't go that far.
So my plug is Luna Cakes does the best cakes. I can't say enough great things. You could look her up on Facebook, Luna Cakes, Luna, Luna Cakes and Desserts. And then there's Pixie Dust Confectionery. I think my Long Island accent might sound off, but it's Pixie Dust Confectionery. You could look her up on Facebook, and both ladies do an exceptional job. I can't say enough great things about them. So thank you to both of them.
That's awesome. I think I might have to look into that and see what great time to do it. Maybe I'll put in some doctor's offices with cookies of them.
She did. They like I said, they do a great job.
That's great. Listen, right off the bat, you are like firework. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Great. Now, tell me. I know that you're a licensed Masters of Social Work. Is that LMSW? Is that what that stands for?
Yep, that's an LMSW. I'm a licensed social worker. Yep.
Great. So, and that's graduate school.
Yes,
what did
correct.
you do as a undergrad? What did you study in school?
I actually studied political science and English Lit at SUNY Albany. So I have a BA from there, and then I have a BSW from Malloy College. So I have 2 bachelors from 2 different universities. Yeah.
You are an achiever.
I try to be.
So I didn't realize. So Albany, SUNY Albany, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, what's the big one over there? Fountain Day. No.
I think it's Fountain Day. Yeah, I have to go back into my memory bank. It's been a while since I've been up there. I think it's been Fountain Day.
A lot of partying. A lot of
This is a professional interview. No, don't tell people that. Don't tell them my secrets.
I always say that I went to SUNY Cortland and just like
this is like a sister party school of SUNY Albany. So like we're right there together there, Dan.
Exactly. So,
excuse me.
You got 2 bachelors, and then you got your master's. Obviously, your license.
Correct. Yeah.
Work, which is fantastic. What got you into working in the home care field? Like, how did you decide that's where I want to go? Because there's a lot of opportunity for social workers. You're very new in the world. What made you say home care?
Well, I was actually working at a skilled facility out in Suffolk County in Kings Park. And I was working as a discharge planner, case manager, social worker. And I had a friend of mine who I'd known in the business for many years that came and asked me if this was something that I would be interested in because, I wanted to kind of work in the field and just see what was out there. So the opportunity was presented to me, and I really honestly didn't really know what it was about when I first started. You know, you do your training, you think you have a really good grasp on the senior population, but the reality is when you first start out, it's very challenging, because what you're really doing is you're going out trying to get business. So it was a lot of learning, a lot of trying to figure out the ins and the outs of what I was doing, and really building not just the brand of the company that you're working for, but building you and really building your own reputation, which which took a while, you know, but I learned, you know, so that's how I got into this field of home care. I started out with this one company, and it just kind of 6 years, and I, you know, I would like to think I made a nice name for myself. So,
I mean, you and I, when we met up recently, I think it was at Starbucks.
correct.
We were talking branding. So
Yeah.
you got to build the company. Well, I didn't disappear. I promise.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. You got to build up the business that you're working with, but you also have to build up, you know, yourself and your name.
Right.
And that's, I think, after 6 years doing this, I'm sure you've done both magnificently well.
Thank
Now,
you. I appreciate that.
Your daughter's obviously, she's very young, just turned, so she's got a little while before she thinks about this kind of stuff. Would you have her follow? Would you like it if she followed in your footsteps, or would you want to do something completely different?
I think the healthcare industry is always evolving. So I think there's always room in there for so many different aspects of it, from doctors to nursing practitioners, which you didn't see before. When I first started out in this field of healthcare, you didn't see a lot of nurse practitioners or physician assistants. And now you go into a doctor's office and this is what you see. So the field is always evolving, always changing. And I feel that it's always growing. There's so many different aspects of healthcare to delve into. So if this is a field that she feels that she loves, then absolutely I would love for her to be in this field, because you could be anything you want to be in this industry, especially in healthcare. You can go anywhere and you can really, you know, make a name for yourself, you know, so yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I hope if that's, you know, if she does go down that route, I'm sure she has a fantastic person
guiding her along the way, right?
Of course. Now, you know, you've obviously been doing this for a while now, so you're familiar, and you're kind of good at kind of dealing with things as they come. What are some of the hurdles that when you first started, or even now, like what are some of the hurdles that you've had to like overcome to get, like whether it's personally or professionally, whatever, like what are some of the hurdles that you've had to deal with getting to where you are now?
I think one of the biggest hurdles is, you know, going back to school was one of my biggest hurdles. You know, as we all know, education is not cheap, especially on Long Island. So that was a big hurdle, going back to school, you know, after I had already been in school. But it was something I really believed in. So, and the fear of what happens if I don't like it, or the fear of what happens if I'm not successful in this field that I'm going into, or what am I going to do with this degree, and am I on the right path? So I think those fears start to kind of overwhelm you. That's one hurdle. I think the other hurdle that I found was just finding my way in this industry and really understanding what it was that I was meant to do. So not really knowing right off the bat if I wanted to work with seniors or children, or you know, substance abuse, or even psychiatric care. And then kind of little by little, you just kind of get into a job, and it kind of, you mold, and you find your way, and you realize, yeah, I really do love this, and I'm really good at it. So I think initially those were some of the hurdles, were just sort of the anxiety and the fears of really, what am I doing, and what am I going to do with this once I'm done?
Angela, you are so genuine. I love this. I stay like this. You're such a cool person. I like this. You're vulnerable. You're open. You're very genuine. You get that a lot, though. Tell me about Alvita Home Care. Tell me about, like, specifically, like, what makes them stand out.
Well, I think one of the things that does make them stand out, you know, amongst our competitors, is our customer care, and our care coordination is probably one of the best I've ever worked with. Initially, when someone comes on board, they get a welcome phone call, they get a follow-up call. and they get subsequently 2 more follow-up calls. And what I love about that is they're constantly staying in contact with the clients to ensure that everything is going well during those first couple of days into that first week, which is really your most crucial period of working with a home care agency. So that right there, number one, hands down, we're very customer service oriented. And that's what I love about Alvita. The next phase of it is the care coordination, the people behind the scenes that you don't necessarily see, but are working tirelessly to ensure that our clients are matched with a caregiver that meets the needs of what their loved one is going to need when they hire us. And those are the people that are on the phone with our caregivers, ensuring that they understand what the needs are, and ensuring that they have a knowledge of if mom has dementia, if mom or dad has Parkinson's, is there a fall risk? Do they need additional support? You know, what else can we be providing for them? So that coordination on top of that excellent customer service is so crucial the first few days into that first week. And Alvita really knocks it out of the park. I've never seen a team of people work so well and just really provide that hands-on that I think a lot of maybe the other agencies may not have.
It really sounds like Alvita goes layers deep it goes layers deep. So it sounds like they're really making sure, just even from the get-go, someone's, you know, there's care that's needed, and they go, okay, yes, we can just provide this care. Anyone can provide that care.
Correct.
I'm sure there's a lot of home care, you know, companies that kind of started and then disappeared because they didn't make it individualized. They didn't make it kind of specific to the needs of them. They kind of just, you know, kind of blanketed everything. So I think it's one very good.
Thank you.
Service. And now, does your home care agency, is it? I know it's obviously, you know, home care aid. Is there any other services that are provided besides the care with an aid, or is there, or I should say, follow up to that is, what is the expectation that the aid is able to do to help out the client? I know that's like 18 questions in one.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So I'm going to start with what other services we can provide, and then I'm going to go into what the aid or the caregiver can do in the home. So the other services that we provide, obviously, are home healthcare aids. We can do companion care. We could do bedside companion, which is key. We obviously can get an aid to even escort someone home from the hospital and help with that smooth transition from the time the person leaves the hospital, the facility, to the home, to ensure that the first few days or even the first week that they're facility free or hospital free, so that they're comfortable in their home setting. We geriatric care management we do, and I have to say we have some wonderful RNs and social workers that provide such wonderful geriatric care management all over Manhattan, all over Long Island. So that's an amazing team to work with. We can do LPN and RN services. Obviously, like I said, bedside companion also falls under that hospice care. We do have some caregivers that are very well educated and trained with hospice care and can really provide that one-to-one comfort level care that people will need in those particular situations. So that's on the service. So that's layer one. And then obviously the next question you asked me is what can the aides can do? They really can do a lot for mom or dad or for any of the loved ones that are out there. Everything from medication reminders to preparing meals for them, helping them with toileting, dressing, ambulation, taking them for a walk, maybe doing a social activity in the home, or maybe possibly even escorting them to a senior center so that they're not home all day long. They can kind of help with very light housekeeping, taking the garbage out, bringing a dirty linen or two down and doing some laundry. So, you know, just very light housekeeping to ensure that your loved one isn't running all over and is at a risk of hurting themselves or falling or, you know, taking a back step, and really the focus for them is on their recovery.
So that's a perfect segue into my next question, which is really my axe to grind, which is if you were, I like to do this. I have yet to be able to ask this question and be able to get it the way I'm looking for it, but really explain like I'm five. I always say, explain like I'm
Absolutely.
five. What does Alvita Home Care do to help my grandma and grandpa?
Okay, so really the first step in all of this isn't to talk about what we can do. The first step is to meet with the family member that's inquiring about the care and find out exactly what the needs are. And then also meet with grandma and grandpa and get a sense of, what would they like if they're able to tell me? Does grandpa prefer, somebody just not really be too intrusive? He doesn't want somebody stepping over his feet. He just wants somebody there to watch him. Does grandma like to talk to somebody? Does she like to go outside and sit in the sun or read a book? Does this person enjoy interacting, with a couple? Do grandma and grandpa need help with getting dressed in the morning? Or do they get up later in the day and they're more, night owls? So those are all the different details that someone like me wants to know so that I can get a sense of what do you need before we can riddle off all the different services that we can provide. It's important for myself as a community liaison to get to know the family as well as the clients, to have a sense of what is it that they truly need and what can we do to ensure that we're providing them quality care.
That's spot on. What's a myth about home care that you want to dispel?
I think one of the biggest myths that we hear are always the negative stories of caregivers in someone's home that doesn't, let's say, do the right thing. And we'll just kind of leave it generically under that umbrella instead of getting into details. And it does happen. I think to sit here and say it never happens would be lying to our consumers and our families and their loved ones. However, I think those are very small percentages that you hear in the news and out in the social media outlet. It's like anything else. You're always hearing about the bad, and you never really hear about really all the positive stories that come out of the wonderful things that these caregivers can do, not just with Alvita, but with, all the different agencies that are out there, all trying to do good, with families. Families, I think their biggest fear is they feel like, well, we're just looking for the monetary aspect of it. And at the end of the day, I know I could speak for myself and my colleagues, and also my competitors, I'm sure, and the many other people out there. The goal, I think, is just to ensure that our seniors are living the best life that they could possibly live. And that's it. End of story and period. There's no need to kind of add to that. But that to me is, I think, everyone's kind of goal out there.
I would like to say happily that the people who I interview and the people who I've spoken to, and even people who are not part of this 400 Fewer Falls initiative, that would be one of the things across the board that I've seen from these high quality people. People just say, at the end of the day, just want people to be in a better place. We just want people to be better.
Right.
We want to just be able to solve that problem. Some people go about it one way. Some people go about it a different way, obviously. Right. But I think 100% that that's one of the things. I mean, that's the thing that everyone has in common. And as far as what you're saying before, the war stories, I mean,
we've all heard them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Million great things being said, and you hear one bad thing. And listen, topical right now, and this might be, I don't know if you've heard this, been like either attempted or actual child abductions. Have you heard about this? Like throughout the island? It's horrendous.
Yeah.
And listen, I know that the thousands of people I walk next to are not trying to abduct my daughter.
Right.
But I heard about, like, in the past 2 weeks, like two situations where, like, there was some suspicious, or I heard on the news someone didn't get abducted. And now that's it. Like, and so war stories, they travel. And it's unfortunate because in your world, of course, that's the stuff people remember.
Right.
Someone doing something not great.
Yep. It's that preconceived notion, and that's what happens. These stories about child abduction sets off a panic in people, right? It's newsworthy, and it sets people into a panic, parents into a panic, everyone. Well, it's the same in the senior population. You hear that one bad story, and that's it. Like, all home care agencies are horrible. All caregivers, all aides out there, they're horrible. And the truth of the matter is that's such a small percentage of what's really providing that care to your loved one. So that's why, to me, that's that's the biggest, if that's the way to, the biggest myth, you know, is that, you know, they're all not good and they're all out to, you know, to take from you. And so those are, I think, even some of the challenges that we face when we're on the front line with families. So, yeah.
And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it's something you have to keep in mind. You have to, you know, in the back of their heads, a lot of people are thinking that, and that's, but,
right.
If you had the opportunity to talk to the entire sandwich generation, right? That's the generation who have kids, but also, you know, adult parents, or I say older adult parents. What piece of advice would you scream from the rafters? What would you want everyone to hear?
Work with someone that wants to work with you. You know, utilize the contact that you have. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to make that phone call. And don't be afraid of the information that's being given to you on the other end. The people that are out there, you know, trying to provide these services for your loved ones are really there to help you. I'm not just a community liaison. You know, I'm not just somebody that works at a home care agency. I have parents too. I'm human, you know, and I have the same concerns and the same fears that you're dealing with right now. Those could be my concerns, my fears. And that's where I draw on, as you know, that's what I draw on is trying to connect with you. And don't always think that, you know, we're the bad guys. You know, we're here to help you. And many of us have a plethora of information and contacts at our fingertips. Let us help you, and let us be the ones to maybe guide you in the right direction. Because there's so many amazing people in this industry that they just want to make sure that your mom, your dad, your uncle, your aunt, your sister, your grandma, your grandpa, they're okay. And that, like I said, they live a quality life, however long that may be.
You know, I think that there's two fields in this world that you could honestly say, like, across the board, and it's like people who work with seniors. You don't work with seniors unless you want to be working with seniors. Like, that's not, you know, if you've made a decision to help people of that age group, and you're doing it because you love it and because you want to do it, and because sometimes you're looking at a person who, you know, and you say, maybe that's my mom, or maybe, you know, that's my grandma, or something like that. Like, that's how we said, like, when I started my practice, we said the platinum rule. This was the first piece of advice that I got when I was during my first clinical affiliation at the Northport VA. My clinical instructors told me, treat every patient the way you'd want a healthcare provider to treat your mom.
Right.
Platinum rule. That was it.
Right.
I based my entire business on that sentence. And when you're working, you go, if this were my grandmother, if this was my mom, if this was my dad, if this was my grandma, what would I want done? How would I want this to be done?
Right. It's funny you say that, because my dad's mom, you know, I always draw upon my two grandmothers. You know, my dad's mom had was starting to get early onset dementia, and she was depressed, and she was living at home alone. And then she went into a nursing home that at the time really, you know, was horrendous for her. And unfortunately she passed away, you know, sometime later. And my dad and my aunt didn't have the kind of resources that you know, are at my fingertips now. It's amazing. And my other grandmother was living in an assisted living type of, you know, community. They've obviously built these types of communities up, but at the time it was just very like your basic generic assisted living. And she never came out of her room. You know, she isolated herself, and no one knew she had passed away. So I look at those situations, and when I talk to my families, I think, wow, you know, not only do I wish I had known then what I know now, but I think, wow, you know, if they're looking down at me, how proud they must be that this is the field that I chose. And every time I meet a family and I see their loved one, I think, you know, that was my grandma. That was my grandmother's. And so what I couldn't do for them, and I've always said this, and a lot of people have heard this, what I couldn't do for them because I was so young, I do for others now. And that's why I'm so passionate about working with our elders, our seniors, our sandwich generation, and, you know, all these families that are out there.
Angela, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I think it's fantastic. It's, you know what a great way to pay homage to your grandmother. And obviously, you know, I have a similar not the same, but a similar kind of story for me too. It's like you do what you do because you're like, I want to honor them, and I don't want to have someone else feel the way I felt when this happened.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you.
I like to call this a lightning round, where I'm going to kind of.
You can hit me with a million questions. All right.
I'm going to ask you some
Go.
questions. We're going to play a little game in a minute. But first, let me ask you. First question is, if you weren't going to be the community liaison, if you weren't going to do anything in the world that you're doing now,
right,
what profession would you want to do?
Oh, this is so funny you're asking me this, because I just had this conversation with one of the girls at Huntington Hills today, and it's so funny you brought this up. If I wasn't a social worker and I wasn't so skeevish around blood and bodily, I would have been a neurosurgeon, because I love the brain. I'm fascinated with the brain. Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
First off, yeah, blood, but I mean, good for
all the
you.
other things that go with it.
I mean, that's neuro. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You know what I love? I do these workshops all the time when we talk about back pain, because I do a lot of talks on chronic back pain. And one of the things that I always say is, my first semester for physical therapy school, at least in Stony Brook, your first semester is you are dissecting a human being, like an actual human being, right? So, no longer alive. That wasn't obvious.
Oh, wow.
So you're dissecting a human being, and I always said, like, the nerves, like they're like threads, like they're so tiny. And then I explain, how important it is when you're doing any kind of neurosurgery, you got to be so gentle. And then I talked about the sciatic nerve, which is about the size of your two fingers together.
Wow.
Thick nerve. So I said, a lot of nerve endings back in there. But neurosurgery, oh my goodness, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
If you have a passion for that, that's incredible.
Well, yeah. That, or I would have been a paranormal investigator, because I love everything But here's the thing. The problem with that, Dan, is that as soon as I got an inkling that there was a spirit in the room, I would have ran out the door. So that career choice probably would not have worked for me, except for a hot second. So it would have been neurosurgeon, paranormal investigator. So, clearly I went with the right one and stuck with it. So.
Okay. Angela's on the scene. Doesn't bring any equipment with her.
No.
But she gets a sense, she just runs. And if she runs, depending on how fast she runs, how fast the spirit is.
Exactly.
No, Angela, I was saying, like, you and I, we riff very well. You and I get along very well. I think we'd be ready for, working together like this. What's something, like, I know I could probably name a bunch of good things about you, amazing things about you, and I'm sure you probably do as well for yourself. But what's something that you're not very good at?
Why do people ask me this question? And then I have to think, well, I am not very good at driving when there is a lot of traffic. I don't have a lot of patience sometimes. So if that is one of my weaknesses, I don't have road rage at all. I do not have I just don't understand where everyone is going and why there's so many cars on the road. I just don't understand it. Like, don't understand why. I'm sure because there's so many people driving at the same time is the answer you're going to give me. But I just want to know where everyone is going to and why they're all on the road at the same time as me. So
I saw this really great GIF. This really great little, the little video. I saw this great video of it's like why traffic occurs, and it's showing 3 lanes of traffic and everyone's driving, and then someone somewhere just stops just short a little bit or just slows down, and someone on the right kind of cuts over to the left lane, which slows down everyone in that lane, and so everyone in that lane scooches over, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, thank you for that, but that probably is not going to help me when I'm in bumper to bumper traffic. So I appreciate your explaining it to me, but it probably doesn't help me. So, yeah.
That's they say knowledge is power, but just because you know it.
Yeah. I have to keep that in the back of my mind, but then I'd want to know where that driver is and why.
But don't be, that's the thing. Don't be the one who's like, I'm going to just go and just.
No, I know. And it's funny. I never do. I just am like, why is everyone on at the same time I'm on?
I always say, whenever I'm driving to a party or something, we're going, if the kids, everyone must be going to Michelle's birthday party right now.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's just how you.
Party guys.
Yeah. I hope we can find a parking spot when we get there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, Angela, if you found $100, $1,000, $500,000, whatever the answer, whatever the number needs to be for this answer to work, if you found a tremendous amount of money that no one can claim, but you couldn't invest it, you couldn't give it away, you had to be selfish. You had to use it on yourself. What would you do with that money?
It's hard for me to answer that. You know what I would probably do? I would invest it in my daughter's college fund because I would feel too guilty.
You can't do something nice like that.
Okay. So I have to be selfish?
Selfish.
And
very selfish.
Selfish. I probably would enhance maybe my wardrobe. You know, I will tell you that anyone that does know me knows that I have a huge bag and shoe fetish. So if you want me to be selfish, I'll be more than happy to invest it in my love of, you know, bags and shoes. So I look nice when I go out. So
do you have any like worthwhile? Oh, sorry. Do you have any like worthwhile? Do you have any worthwhile bag or shoe or anything? You're like, you never believe what I got. I got this, or like, hey, I got these Blahniks. I watched Sex and the City once, so I know that word.
Oh, okay. Wow, I'm really impressed.
Or a Gucci bag, something you're like, oh, I got this. It was incredible. Or I got this, and it was like, I had to beat down 5 women to get it. Nothing. Do you have any stories like that? I
do, but then I think people would get the wrong impression about me and probably not use Alvita home care ever again if they heard my backstory. So I think I better like zip it before I put my foot in my mouth. But I do have a very funny story that ended up with me pulling on a Louis Vuitton bag in Chinatown and throwing money at the lady. And then the police came because, they like to shut everybody down if they're selling the bags. And I'm throwing the money at her and she's pulling on it going, the police, and I'm pulling back and I'm like, give me the bag, lady. And throwing money at her. And as I walked past the police officers and my sister was like, you're going to get in trouble. I just looked at them and I was like, oh, God, you guys ruined everything. All I wanted was a bag for my trip. I wound up getting one eventually, but yeah, I think the police officer was laughing at me. So it was quite funny at the time.
They have like, white collar crime. That might be like.
That would have been me on a mugshot. Yeah. Holding like a bag. The things you do for high-end stuff.
Exactly. I wanted to just ask you, let's do one. I'm going to pick one. I have this book. It's called 2,000 Questions About Me.
Oh.
5 below. It's awesome. So you have to pick a number between 0 and 2,000. And it's a question, and then you're just going to answer it. So pick a number.
So I'm going to make it simple. I'm going to pick 19 because that's my daughter's birthday. I could only imagine what that question is going to be. Oh,
this one's a little dark. You sure you want to do this one?
Oh, no. I don't know.
Yeah, pick a different one. This one's
all right. So let's do 2011. That's when she was born. Wait,
well, it all goes up to
2000. Oh, yeah. So we can't do that.
2011.
How about 1990?
Like it. I like it. That was a good year. Let's see. 1990.
And just for the record, people watching this, that is not the year that I was born. I know it looks like it, but.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. These are. I'm gonna just pick one for you, okay?
Just pick one for me, Dan. What are you doing to me?
These are like if it was like if we had like 5 questions, I would read some of these, but we're doing one. You don't want that one. Oh, okay. This is number 1137.
1137. Okay.
What's your biggest what if?
My biggest what if? My biggest what if is what if I didn't stay on Long Island and I moved out of state where my family lived? So what kind of business or career would I have had at that point in my life? My family lives out of state. They live in Pennsylvania. My parents live in Pennsylvania and my one sister lives in Philly. And so there was some talk initially a couple of years back about moving and relocating out of state and starting maybe doing some case management in a different state. And I thought about it, but staying on Long Island is kind of obviously the decision I went with. But it's always been a what if I had left.
I'll tell you, my wife and I, we kick around ideas sometimes too. There was before children and everything else, we kept saying like, what if we just moved to Arizona?
Yep.
Like, what if to Scottsdale? Like what if? And
Yep.
yeah, and actually her parents had that thought when they were just married, and they said, you know, like, what if we just did that? And they actually looked, they found places, and it didn't happen. I'm really happy. I'm very happy, very, very happy that my in-laws did not move to Arizona, because I would have never met my wife. So I'm
right.
So you just don't sometimes.
You never know. You never know. You know, I don't get spiritual, especially because I don't know what people's belief system is, but I do believe that we all have our own path. And so we're guided for a reason. So there's a reason why we met, and there's a reason why we're in this industry together. So there's reasons for everything. So your what ifs are great to ponder, but wasn't where you were supposed to be.
100%. 100%. Guys, this is Angela Desposito. She's from Alvita Home Care. I'm going to give her phone number real quick. And this is her cell number, so don't go bugging her in the middle of the night. But
That's okay.
Ask questions. She is definitely going to be the one who's going to help you out with any questions that you have. Her number is 631-897-9070. Again, that's 631-897-9070. Alvita Home Care, and it's alvitacare.com if you want to go visit. They're based out of Hop Hog. Angela, you are amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it. So great to talk to you again, even though we kind of went off on a few tandem conversations that some people are probably going to be like, what? But yeah, such a great friend. And I wish you all the best. I think you're amazing.
And same to you.
Take care.
Thank you. And we're going to have to do more talking. We have to do this again.
I know.
Take care.
All right. Bye.